Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Joe McGranaghan.
Greetings and welcome on board the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark. I am Mark Lawrence, subpar host of the show. That's what a golfer wants to be, under par. So I'm under par. And
you are achieving it wonderfully, may I
Thank
say.
you. If less than average is what I'm expected to do around here, that's what I am doing. So that's who I am. Across from me is well above average in every way in terms of his magnanimous recall of details and his wonderful career in broadcasting, Broadcaster of the Year by the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters, and is, as far as I was concerned, the Manager of the Year every year at WKOK.
Thank you so much.
Only a few short decades ago. They don't make leaders like you anymore.
You're a lot nicer to him since he's retired.
Yeah, I know. He used to say awful things to me when I worked here.
This is completely untrue.
What could you possibly want now?
Well, okay, so there were a few intercom conversations that were a little pointed, but honestly, I really respected your leadership, and this was a place, and still is, where the search of excellence was something that was taken up again every day. And so I really appreciated what you did. And you did it without consultants or outside people coming in to do it, and I always appreciated that.
I was cheap.
Is that what it was? We didn't want to pay. That's right. Okay, you read their book and try to do what they suggested. All right. So Joe McGranaghan is the man's names of whom I speak across from me. On the other side of the glass is a man who was summoned more than once on the intercom and asked, "What in the world did you do now?" by the man across from me, and that would be Kevin Hurt, greatest engineer the world has ever known, has won more awards from the PAB and the Associated Press broadcasters than anyone ever in the studio that he inhabits right now, and that is a big
Is there
number.
anybody else in there?
No.
Okay.
He's by himself. So
That's what I thought.
Right. So, but he does have quite a few. He's got extensive plaquage in his office. One wall of his house fell off one time because it was the plaque wall.
I like that word.
Thank
More
you.
than one, it's plaquage.
Right. So, and he is
That's a dentist term, too.
had yeah, you can get some floss to get those awards off here, especially the plexiglass ones. They're heavy, and the wall fell in, but they got it fixed. And
To call my dentist and say, I have plaquage, I need an appointment.
right, well, that would work, and he would say congratulations.
You're right.
Now, the webcam is up and running. That's part of Kevin's job description, is to make the webcam look perfect and sound perfect, and switch to commercials when the time comes, and put chroma key graphics up there that explain who's on when and which color's which and which sponsor is sponsoring, and he does that all in fine form. You can see it at WKOK.com or go to our YouTube channel and check it out as a 24-hour archive. It's at WKOK.com, but then the YouTube channel has the long-term archive, plus our other videos are posted there. On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915, 4th Street, Sunbury, and routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. That's a place where I was coming up the driveway this morning, very, very foggy, and all of a sudden I see this huge sort of cream-colored tuna boat in front of me with 4 doors and a remote tailgate and a backup camera. And no, it is Kevin's F-150 parked in the driveway at 5 o'clock this morning.
Calling a Ford a tuna boat?
Well, it is. Well, I'm into my little Ranger, so I could just put a set of ramps up there and drive right up into the back of that thing. And I did notice the sticker as I drove by. It says 20 miles to the gallon on the highway, and that's conservative, because if you drive conservatively, as Kevin is doing, since he has to fill up the 712-gallon tank, he is just real light on the gas, and you can go above 20 miles to the gallon.
You can go over 500 miles a tank on that vehicle.
Well, that's a relative term, though.
I thought you were going to break into Bobby Bear's hit 500 miles away from home.
No, I'm just thinking. I actually was talking to a friend of mine. Actually, it was the coach on our way Friday night. He was talking about his F-150 that he has, and he takes it to Florida. And he said one of the things that people tell him about his F-150, he has the extended cab, or I think he has the extended cab on his, and he said the people in the back seat say, this is the smoothest ride I've ever had in a pickup. It reminds me of a passenger vehicle for a long trip.
Okay, good. And it does have an extra fuel tank, so if you want to do the 500 miles, fill up both tanks, and away you go. Although then you're hauling all that extra gasoline around, so that probably hurts your mileage just a tiny
Well, if
bit.
you were crossing the desert, it would be very helpful.
Right, then it's mandatory, right? You got to be able to go all the way. Lenape Solar, located at 140 South 2nd Street in Sunbury. They sponsor the Lenape Solar email in basket. How appropriate. They have a solar array display set up on 2nd Street. What that means is you go in the door when they are open, of course, and you can see various types of photo arrays for the sun with solar panels. That's what they are. Some generate electricity. Others are used to generate sort of a heated fluid that is used in them, and then it can be used to transfer to domestic hot water or home heating or both or some other configuration. They got a lot of ways you can go. Or you can just generate a ton of electricity, sell it to PPL, and they'll say thank you very much for helping power the grid. LenapeSolar.com is their main website. We have an opportunity today to have open phones, so we are going to do that. We're hoping that as our show progresses, we'll hear from Hope Kopf. She is my 4th grade teacher, so she's going to call in and talk to us about there are some folks that are making a film in Sunbury. Well, they're making a film at a couple of points in the valley. They're going to start out in Sunbury, and they're looking for extras this Friday evening. So we'll ask her to call in, or Jessica Paquin from the Campus Theater has been helping them do that. So this local filmmaking project is underway. They're looking for extras, so we'll talk about that.
Extra what?
Extra people. That's a film term.
What's it pay?
I know, but what would your
Extras are
job?
free.
What would your job
extras
be?
don't work free. Typically they are paid something.
What?
It's my understanding. If you get into big Hollywood, some people who are extras. My son has a kid he went to college with, who has his SAG card, based on being an extra, and he appeared in a lot of movies in the background. He was in what was that movie? A Girl Interrupted.
Okay.
Remember that?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
There's a scene
That was
at
a great
party.
film.
There's
I'm
a
still
scene at
crying.
a party where my son's college roommate turns around and says, "Hello," whatever the girl's name was.
Huh.
He actually had a line.
Wow.
Yeah, that could be exciting. You would be good. Now that you're growing those bizarre whiskers down the side of your face.
You don't like my beard?
Well, you look like you're trying to become a Civil War. I was going to ask you if you're joining John Deppen in portraying some Civil War general of some sort.
Mm-hmm. No.
You look
no.
like...
This is very hip. This is called I'm looking up at the camera so folks can see what the new whiskers look like.
well,
I can't zoom into that
Not
angle,
enough
so.
contrast because it's white.
Okay.
You should dye it black.
I should dye it. Yeah, I'm getting chubby.
Well, what is that? There's a product for that. For
Grecian
beard.
formula?
Yeah, Grecian formula for men's beards. There you go. You just brush it on with a shoe brush and you're ready to go.
Okay.
I think that would add a certain flair to you.
Put a new Facebook pickup.
What do they call
of
that,
the
by
new-
the way, what you're growing? Do they have a name for it?
A soul patch.
A soul patch?
Yes.
Oh, we'll rally round the flag, boys, we'll rally once again.
That's what I think Mark's going to break into song.
That's
these
what I
times
sing in the
with that.
shower
Yeah.
as I shave these days. So.
Well, no, you don't shave these days, do you?
Well, yeah, you got to clear all the areas where you don't want beard.
Oh, okay. Well,
All right, well, let's move on.
All right.
This is a dog's breakfast, as you would say. We do have somebody doing a film, so hopefully we'll hear from Hope Kopf as our show progresses, or Jessica Paquin, either.
well, they have
either
it written right here.
or both. Right. Well, that's the schedule of extras needed, but I think we could probably come up with some more to say with it, other than just the hours that it's going to be happening. So we invite folks to participate in the filmmaking that's going on in Sunbury and Milton and Millheim and a couple of spots around here.
Do we know the role? Like you said, an extra. What's the
Well,
premise?
there's one where
Well,
they
let's
need
read
kids,
what we got
kids
here.
5 to
All right.
11.
Since we brought it up, it says, calling all extras, come get famous. We need you for a film that's called Old Baby, ! As in old, as in not young, and baby, as in you got it, baby, ! Old Baby. There are several dates where we need some extras coming up. One is tomorrow evening, Friday, from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. in Sunbury. Saturday from 10 to 5 in Sunbury. Saturday from 5:30 to 7 p.m. in Sunbury, so I guess sort of two different sequences there of some sort. Sunday, two different times, 1 to 4 at the Milton Library and 9 to 11.
That's for kids 5 to 11.
Oh, yes, it is good. Thank you for catching that.
You're
Yep,
welcome.
at the Milton Library, it's Sunday. Then Sunday night from 9 to 11 p.m. in Sunbury. Next Monday, from noon to 6 p.m. at a farm in Millheim. Now, I'll be on vacation next week, so I will go to that. Monday from noon to 6 p.m. at a farm in Millheim. Sunday the 14th from 6 to 10 p.m. at a motel in Lock Haven, and Wednesday the 17th at 8 p.m. until 2 a.m. at a motel in Lock Haven. That might be kind of fun. And if you're interested in being in the film, email me, and it's Jessica at fistinpostfilms.com. You have to be able to provide your own transportation. You must be available for the entire time while the shooting is underway, and you can come and get famous. And if you email Jessica, fistinpostfilms.com, that's FISTINPOST films.com, as in somebody who ran their fist into a post and then got the name of the films named after them, fistinpostfilms.com. Jessica at fistinpostfilms.com.
Good thing she wasn't struck from behind by a car. I'd hate to see what the name of that would be there. Never mind.
Right. Yeah.
It's over your head. Right?
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's something. All right. So also there's more details at gofundme.com/oldbabymovie. Old Baby Movie is the search there. So hopefully we'll hear from Hope today, and we'll find out what the filmmaking's all about. I didn't hear anything about it until we got summoned that they're looking for extras. I didn't realize anybody was shooting a film around here, so this is all good news for us. So,
well, I guess the only question would be, what is it they need people to come dressed as?
I don't know. You'll get the information. 1-800-795-9565 is our toll-free line. When we come back, Joe has a topic at hand, and so we will discuss that when we return. 1-800-795-9565 is our toll-free line. It's an open day right now. Topic of your selection, or you can email us at the Lenape Solar email in basket at onthemark@WKOK.com. And the lariat that lassoed Kevin is sponsored by the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
It's opening night in the NFL, and the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese, joining Steve Jones after 3 today on The Steve Jones Show. News Radio 1070 WKOK.
If it's not like the movies, that's how it should be, yeah.
All right, welcome back, WKOK Live. Welcome back to the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. Kevin has.
You were on.
I knew I was on, but she kept singing, so I thought, well, maybe I should stop. So
I know you're in love with Katy Perry, and you want to just make sure you hear her all the time. I know.
I am not in love with Katy Perry. I'm
infatuated. Sorry.
No, I'm in love with other actresses, but not her, including.
I thought she was a singer,
including the woman who was in Girl Interrupted.
And she was. That Katy Perry. What was that thing she did with Elmo?
Mm-hmm.
And it was banned from Sesame Street because she was wearing a rather
bustier.
Yes, was displaying her cleavage in a rather flamboyant manner.
It wasn't that bad.
It was not. It was perfectly normal. It was the same as.
But they banned it. But that goes into the kind of leads into the topic I wanted to just mention.
You're going to say Tata.
Tata's right. Well, they have a trot for that, don't they?
Yes, they do in Sunbury. Okay. Yeah, 20,000 people went to it this time, and it raised $100,000.
That's a lot of money. There's a high school in California called Conchilla Valley High School, and for 100 years they have been known as the Conchilla Valley Arabs, and they have an Arab-dressed mascot who dances around and at the football games like I'm trying to see, Pittsburgh Pirates, the pirate guy and all these mascots that they have in teams.
So he's a caricature.
Yeah, a caricature, and it's changed over the years. They've had different caricatures, but now, and one of the other things that, because carrying this Arab theme through, one of the things they did, their high school halftime band show always included belly dancing. And now, an Arab group has complained, saying that they are perpetuating the stereotype that Arabs are bombers, bombers, billionaires, or belly dancers. And, just like the Washington Redskins we discussed, where their tradition there, they're not changing. They're not going to change the name of the team. Well, this high school in California, the home of political correctness, folded like a cheap suit, and they're immediately changing the name and the mascot after 100 years because somebody complained. So what's going to happen when an animal rights activist decides, for example, that the Selinsgrove seal is offensive to seals?
Well, I
is
think
someone going to have that
obviously
changed?
Somebody finds some validity in the complaint, and if the complainers are correct, what are the observations of the individuals who are unhappy?
They say that it perpetuates the stereotype that Arabs are bombers, billionaires, or belly dancers.
And what if it? So my question is, what if it does do that? If it does do that, I think it's appropriate they change it.
Well, the thing that apparently sparked it is their current iteration of the mascot is rather fierce looking. But you don't take a wimpy-looking character for a football team mascot. I mean, what can you imagine that?
Have you seen the Selinsgrove logo? I mean, that seal's pretty menacing looking.
I know. Well, that's the whole point. That it's supposed to be tough.
The Demure Demons are going to be playing this weekend.
I mean, Central Columbia has a fighting Blue Jay with his dukes up.
The Fading Fighters.
Well, yeah. What do we do? The Blue Jay is offensive. I mean, look at the Fighting Irish. The Notre Dame logo, I could be offended by that. It says it perpetuates the stereotype that Irish people are drunks and fighters.
Look, 5 years ago, we had the Resting Braves who were playing in the games.
Resting Braves?
Right, yeah, they were having trouble winning games. So
okay.
They seemed to be at rest during the games.
But it just goes back to the same thing I said before. People need to lighten up.
No, I think people need to be more sensitive to others'
How about that for a name of a team? The Selinsgrove Sensitives.
How did they get the name Arabs? Did they have a greater influx of individuals from the Mediterranean regions?
I think they thought they were honoring them, that because the caricature is of a fighting Arab, and there are hundreds of stories, Arabian Nights type stories of how...
Conflict in the Middle East? No, come on. Really?
But I mean, it's not a traditional today Arab. It's kind of like the Arab you might have seen 100 years ago that they perpetuate. And he is rather fierce looking, but then the high school football coach said, well, I don't think you want a mascot that doesn't look like it's brave or fighting or, how many people would want to follow the banner of...
the Pittsburgh Poets.
Right, the Pittsburgh Poets. There you go. I like that one.
That will get you with verse and ode.
Or change the name of the Crosscutters to the Wussies, the Williamsport Wussies. And what do? Well, we're very polite to everybody. We just go along. That's
the wussies?
Well,
I know what the wussies are. Wussy is an expression that is a derivation of what?
Well, cowards or...
yeah, or come on, say it.
You've lost me.
No,
what is it?
You don't know what wussy's from. Okay, well,
you
that's
tell
all right.
me.
Kevin, what does the word wussy come from?
I'm sorry, I'd have to hit the button.
He'd have to delay himself.
Well, but still... Maybe. All right.
We really hit the button there, didn't we?
Thank you. Yeah, I hit it.
I hope the other mic wasn't on.
The camera.
The camera mic. But I didn't realize it came from that. I'm sorry, I missed a derivation. I've only heard it used in reference to people who are...
A slang term for a cat. How's that?
A slang term for a cat, all right. But, I just think that it's kind of crazy after 100 years that they would try to change something that had been a part of the team and a part of the school and a part of the heritage for such a long period of time.
But if their goal was to honor the Arab heritage, they've lost their way if they have a caricature mascot like that.
According to one group.
Well, how many people does it take to point out if you go outside and it's raining? Well, according to one person who says it's raining, when it's raining, it's raining. When it's offensive, it's offensive.
Is belly dancing always offensive to Arabs?
Well, I don't think belly dancing would have to be. I think if you do want to honor...
Well, they're stopping that, too. They're stopping the Arab... they call themselves the Arabs.
Well,
now,
I think how many people to honor them?
How many people pick a name for their team that they intend to be insulting with? I mean, the whole idea is to honor them.
Pretty much all of them.
You intend to insult the group that you name your team after.
I think they may tend to insult in many cases. I'm not saying that's their
Isn't it possible
goal.
that some of the people are rather thin-skinned? And that something that has not been offensive for 100 years suddenly becomes offensive.
Well,
did they change, or did the people who are viewing it change?
I think there are some people who are willing to accept offending others, and I think there's some people who are willing to voice the fact that there is an offensive drama being played out on the sidelines of these, that some people choose to speak out and some people don't. I wouldn't call them thin-skinned. That's insulting the person who's pointing out a wrong.
Well, that's insulting thick-skinned people everywhere, right?
Well, I think it's insulting people who are trying to make the people who may be offended less offended by this. Well, but I think if their goal is to honor the Arab culture, I think that would be very easy to do. It's a rich culture with a tremendous heritage over the centuries.
Let's take one that I could be directly involved with. Take Notre Dame. Have you seen their fighting leprechaun?
The little leprechaun, yes.
Right. The implication is that he looks like he might be sauced and ready for a fight. And if I said I was offended by that, would you join me in having Notre Dame change their mascot?
I think that would be well, first of all, you have to have a discussion about when somebody is offended by this. Then you have the discussion, and obviously the school board is doing
all right,
the right
I'm
thing.
Offended by it. I'm offended by Notre Dame's mascot.
Okay,
now, what do we do about it?
I believe as soon as I finish the sentence, I will have exhausted everything I know about Notre Dame. Okay. I think he's a leprechaun, in which case he's a fictitious character.
Well, so is the Arab that they're portraying. He isn't a real person. He's not based on any human being.
Ask anybody of Arab derivation.
The leprechaun is based on the Irish mystique, if you will. The I don't know. I'm searching for a word. The Irish myth,
yes,
if you want to call it that. So I mean, there isn't really a leprechaun, but typically Irish people, leprechauns live under bridges, or is that a troll that lives under a bridge?
Yes. Okay. Yes, definitely. Yeah, leprechauns.
The leprechauns are at the end of the pot of gold.
Right.
I don't know where they live the rest of the time.
Probably they're
in trees.
Usually drunk and fighting, according to the legend, are they not? And so we named this team after them, and I'm offended by it.
And the leprechaun's beard, although the color is different, does look reminiscent to Mark Lawrence's.
It does. Maybe Mark's practicing to be the next Notre Dame mascot.
I get near the camera. I'll show people the beard.
He's going to stick his face up to the camera.
By the way, just while Mark sticks his face near the camera and falls,
he's knocked the whole thing over.
You got to be a little bit lower yet, Mark. All right,
put
that's
your head
good.
up.
There
That's
you
it.
go.
A little bit to the left.
Oh, brother.
My other left.
Just so you know, the Arab mascot was founded in the 20s. It was chosen to recognize the reliance on date farming, which is traditionally a Middle Eastern crop.
Okay. And that's Conchilla Valley High School.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Did you see the logo of the mascot?
I did. I saw the picture of the mascot, and it. You know what it reminds me of? Do you remember Cannonball Run 2 with Jamie Farr?
No, I'm afraid I don't.
I bet movie Mike would know. But it reminded me of the character. You
watch these high-class films. I can't follow.
It reminds me of the character Jamie Farr portrayed. I think it was in Cannonball Run 2.
Well, at what point does parody become unacceptable anymore? You look at Saturday Night Live, the television show, has offended people for a long time. When did it go on? 1978? It offends people. But, you're allowed a certain amount of license, and you're allowed a certain amount of latitude when it comes to humor or caricatures. And, why you could get upset about that program every week. If you were one group or another, I'm sure there'd be something on there you'd find offensive.
Which show?
Saturday Night Live.
Oh, okay.
You ever watch that?
Right. Well, I think parody is properly labeled as something that's making fun of something else. This was originally the mission was to honor Arabs, and obviously they've lost their way. All right. So one of our listeners, Than, sends a note, says, Joe, I learned at a very young age to listen to people who are concerned by degrading imagery of their culture and religion. It ain't new that people are complaining. You just have to start it. We've just started to hear it. Listen, Joe, listen, says Than.
I don't recall in my years of growing up anybody complaining about the William Penn High School Tiger, which is where I went, or the John Harris Pioneer being offensive to pioneers.
Well, let me hold on a second. Let me call up that letter again. What's the last line? Listen out. Say it out.
It ain't new that people are complaining. Well, I think it is.
No, the last three words.
Listen.
Yes, you got to listen more carefully if you'd like to hear what's really happening around you.
Well, either that or you solicit it. I go out to people. I'm going to start asking people, are you offended by the Notre Dame mascot? I am. Let's do something about it.
Okay. I don't think you'll find too many leprechauns that will say, okay, I am offended.
I think I don't have, you apparently will find a few Arabs who are offended by this, but here's my point. It's one group. It isn't the entire Arab community. It's not like the Arabs everywhere have been up in arms over this. One group said, we don't like it, and we think it perpetuates a stereotype, and so it folded. But, what about the entire culture? What about everybody involved in that? Do they all hate it?
I think this happened during the Redskins argument, that people would say, okay, why is it that one particular segment of the U.S. population, that is Native Americans, can decide that the Redskin name, or in this case, one particular segment of the population of that community in California can decide that the name is offensive to them. And I think what happens is, in the Redskins case and in the Arabs case, that somebody who is either represented or is a part of that culture or is familiar with that culture says, I would like to put it out there that this is offensive to some people. Your goal to honor them has failed, and I would like you to change the name. And what that does is that starts a conversation where people are listening.
But listen to their complaint.
And the school board was listening.
Listen to their complaint. They said it perpetuates the image that they are bombers, billionaires, or belly dancers. There is nothing in that image or the graphic of the Arab that we're talking about that has anything to do with bombing or being a billionaire. He doesn't look particularly wealthy. He certainly doesn't look like...
I would debate that one, though,
Well,
Joe.
you think he looks like a terrorist?
No. I don't think it has anything to do with bombing, although he does appear to look a little wealthy.
Well, I didn't get that out of him. I mean, guys wearing robes and a hat. How can you tell wealth from that?
If I remember correctly, now I've closed it. I'm going to have to post this on our Facebook page.
Yeah, thank you.
It does. Let's see. Is he wearing jewelry at all? No. Actually, I thought there was a necklace or a gold necklace there, but it's just the what I would think would be the traditional Arab robe and attire.
What's the name of the team again?
It's the Conchilla Valley High School Arabs.
Okay.
And it's not, there's nothing there that perpetuates any myth that they're bombers or billionaires. And belly dancing has nothing to do with the guy. It just has to do with what they did at their halftime show. It was part of carrying through the Arab motif, if you will.
Okay.
Well, are you looking this up?
I am.
While we have the news, I'll post it on our Facebook page.
Oh,
so you'll
yeah,
be able
that
to
is
see it.
very offensive.
You
I don't know
think
where
so?
the wealth part comes in. He looks dirt poor. Looks like he lives in a tent.
Well, a lot of Arabs did live in tents.
Well, maybe that's part of the issue.
We'll be back after we take a break for the news on WKOK, Sunbury, Pennsylvania.
He's right,
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. They are the fast food workers who've gone on strike again in cities around the country demanding a $15 minimum wage.
I don't want to live off the government. I want to be able to go to work just like everybody else and pay my bills.
I'm Heather Bosch in New York City. As a line of fast food workers marched up a sidewalk chanting, dozens of them moved into the street and sat down, momentarily blocking traffic in front of the McDonald's in Times Square. One by one, officers moved in, arresting the sitting protesters as the others chanted on.
Protest leaders said they planned acts of civil disobedience today because employers haven't been willing to talk about their demands. The industry says it can't afford to pay $15 an hour. A fresh reading on the economy shows that businesses added a healthy 204,000 jobs in August. It was the fifth consecutive month of solid gains. Economist Mark Zandi.
Job growth is broad-based across all industries, the only exception being the information industry. But other than that, we're getting job creation across the board.
302,000 workers filed new claims for unemployment benefits last week. That was up a little, but still close to pre-recession levels. A federal investigation into the fatal shooting of an unarmed black teenager by a white policeman in Ferguson, Missouri, has been underway since last month. Now, the Justice Department is launching a broader probe of police behavior in that St. Louis suburb.
We're told this investigation will examine years of police stops, arrest patterns, and incidents involving the alleged use of excessive force by Ferguson officers.
CBS's Bob Orr. Well, order's been restored at the Nashville Detention Center where a dozen teenage inmates attacked guards earlier today. It's the same jail where more than 30 teenagers escaped on Monday. 6 still have not been found. NATO leaders meeting in Wales have identified the challenges they face in the Middle East and Ukraine. Coming up with solutions may be a lot harder.
NATO leaders call it a pivotal summit. They're grappling with the crisis in Ukraine and the growing Islamic State terror threat. In an ITV interview, British Prime Minister David Cameron said the world must do all it can
to squeeze this dreadful organisation out of existence.
On the summit sidelines, President Obama is pushing his call for an international coalition to take on ISIS. The summit leaders are at the table now discussing another challenge, winding down NATO's combat mission in Afghanistan. Peter Mayer, CBS News, Cardiff, Wales.
Also underway is a meeting with Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko. Flash floods caused by monsoon rains have killed at least 65 people in the part of Kashmir that's controlled by India. Some of the victims were members of a wedding party riding on a bus that was swept away. Here at home, authorities in Thousand Oaks, California are resuming the search for a cobra that's on the loose. The snake bit a dog the other day. Parents have been told to keep their children and pets indoors. S&P futures are up about 5 points. This is CBS News.
Attention homeowners, I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and I have some important information for you regarding the U.S. government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. We've told you about HARP in the past, and more than 3 million homeowners have already taken advantage of this money-saving program. But there are so many more of you who could be saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage. And Quicken Loans is here to help you save your money. The home loan experts at Quicken Loans fully understand the HARP guidelines. If you weren't HARP eligible in the past, new guidelines could mean that now you are. Give us a call and we'll give you a Quicken Loans mortgage review. It's simple and easy. And for 4 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Call 800-QUICKEN. That's 800-QUICKEN. Or go to QuickenLoans.com for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Payment example excludes taxes and insurance calls. For cost information, equalizing lender license in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Electric cars have a lot going for them, but is it enough to keep people buying them? CBS News correspondent Jim Shenevey has the answer.
A report from the online automotive research company Edmunds.com finds sales of electric vehicles topped out last year at 3.7% of total new car sales. So far this year, they're down to 3.6%. The downturn comes despite better deals on financing and other incentives, as well as broad increases in sales of traditional internal combustion vehicles. Industry analysts think it has a lot to do with better fuel efficiency in gas cars and more stability in gasoline prices. Jim Shenevey, CBS News.
A 3-year-old Great Dane was horribly sick when its pet parents rushed the dog to an animal hospital in Portland, Oregon. X-rays showed the dog's belly was stuffed with a large amount of foreign materials. The veterinarians wasted no time operating. When the operation saved the dog's life, the vets removed 43 pairs of socks and one more unmatched sock. Frank Zettapenny, CBS News.
More than 700 Quick Lane Tire and Auto Centers across this country, and she chooses mine.
I need tires, all season, and at a great price.
She wanted it all, but even she was surprised once I crunched the numbers. Soon her Taurus was ready to roll.
Say, you're good, Mr.
Murphy, ma'am, at your service, even on weekends.
With great prices on 13 name brand tires and no appointment necessary, Quick Lane is ready to serve. Visit quicklane.com.
This is Charles Good. What is customer service? Well, for some, it's a warm greeting or a smile or perhaps even knowing your name. But for the independent agents representing auto owners insurance, it's about more than that. It's getting to know you and your needs so that you can get the proper coverage. Really, it's better than customer service. It's customer care. Go to AutoOwners.com to locate an independent agent near you. Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people.
Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Joe McGranaghan.
Greetings and welcome on board the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. Thanks for rejoining us after the CBS News. We're going to talk about one thing that was in the CBS News, that is raising the minimum wage. So we'll talk about that. So that's coming up as our Open Phones Hour progresses. On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915, 4th Street, Sunbury, and routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. They are the provider of Kevin's Ford F-150 the Lariat, which can get over 20 miles to the gallon, and the newest models have aircraft aluminum components, so it weighs 700 pounds less. It's got a perfectly good price tag, and it's marked down as all 75 of the Ford F-150s on the lot are right now. It has the camera so you can see the trailer hitch and a little green line that'll help you back up, so you can do that. Of course, four-door ultimate luxury, sunroof, a fantastic looking vehicle, has off-road capability, nitrogen in the tires, and has a running board that extends out as you step into the vehicle, and then when you're fully underway, it retracts so that when you're going through a wooded area or going over humps and stumps, you don't end up hitting it. Also,
I haven't noticed that, but I'll take your word for it.
It also has, you can't see it.
I thought Kevin was supposed to be talking about this vehicle.
No, Mark's doing a great job. I mean,
humps and
studied it.
I like that, humps and stumps. We're going over humps and stumps today.
Since they know how Kevin drives, it does have skid plates available on the bottom. That's an option if you're going to be off-roading. What else, Kevin?
I have not taken it off-roading yet, but I'll tell you, this particular one is well-equipped with cruise and everything you'd possibly want, including air-conditioned and heated seats. So in the summer, you'll be cool. In the winter, you'll be nice and toasty warm. And as you said, the moonroof, I believe it's called, because you can open it all the way. Sunroof, I understand, is one of those that you used to be able to crack open. The moonroof is a full opening one.
Oh, who knew?
So there you go, and it's available. And by the way, if you haven't seen it, go to my Facebook page or go to WKOK, and you'll be able to see the picture of the vehicle and all the details from Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street, Sunbury.
So what do they do with these things after you've hogged them up for a week?
They cube them in New Jersey.
They grind them down?
Yes. Alrighty, we do have a caller on the line.
Deal?
We want to take our caller.
Mark, can you? I hate doing this on the air, but you're not reading my messages. Can you switch the camera because you've locked up my computer?
Switch it. Is it? I did. It's on. It must be your end. Everything's fine at our end. So, yep, it shows live. Is a picture of us. See? Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Have a nice day.
Well, I thought it went down when you stood up there and showed everybody your beard. Anyhow, Cindy's on the line, right?
Crash. Yeah, why torture Cindy? She's so kind enough to call. Cindy, you are on the mark. Thanks for checking in.
Hi. I just wanted to talk about the issue of the characterization of the Irish as drunken sots prone to fighting. You know, that goes right back to a deliberate conspiracy by the political and social elite. And when the Irish were immigrating to this country, and Harper's Weekly, a magazine, hired Thomas Nash, his name, I'm reading this, I listened to a long story about this on another radio show.
Nash or Nast? I think it's Nast.
N-A-S-T.
Yeah, Nast, okay.
And he drew these political cartoons, and in them, they regularly depicted the Irish as brawling, drunken sots, and this was done purposefully to marginalize them because the Irish people had banded together in America, these people from Ireland, and they were winning local and regional and state elections, which threatened the political elite. And so they had this cartoonist portray the Irish people in these derogatory terms, ape-like, in fact, in some cartoons, and permanent drunks, and always ready to fight. And so they marginalized them in society, a burden that many Irish people would say that the continuation of this characterization, they still bear this derogatory characterization to this day. I married into an Irish family, and certainly they're sick and tired of being characterized in this way. So I think, frankly, that it is indeed true that these things are done at times purposefully to denigrate people, and it's very effective and haunts them 100 years later.
Okay. And I think this is an extension of that when it relates to the Arab. You know, there may have been an opportunity. They may have had this goal of honoring Arabs, but what they really ended up doing was coming up with a series of caricatures. The belly dancing, of course, is a bona fide cultural element of certain Mediterranean, Mideastern culture, so that could be done appropriately, but obviously this school felt that belly dancing isn't part of an appropriate halftime show either.
It was for many years.
Right.
All of a sudden it's not anymore.
Well, times have changed.
You know, isn't it in the eye of the beholder? And if I resent it when women are characterized in derogatory terms, and this is applied in a general way, and I can appreciate that other people would feel the same way about them, about characterizations of them, and I think that we should, as a society, be mature enough and respectful enough to honor their unhappiness about it. Like this whole thing with that Washington, they should be the pirates, frankly, because that's what the people in Washington, D.C. are, is pirates, or buccaneers, or robber thieves,
crooks,
whatever you want to call them.
The Washington crooks. That's
making away with booty. All right, the webcam is up and running. We certainly invite you to check it out at WKOK.com. I'm in control of the webcam right now, so you know.
Things are going downhill fast.
We're going to heck bad. All right, but yeah, I'm controlling it, so I think I can make some things switch and change. Kevin's lost his connection to our computer, but nonetheless, it is up and running, and I know that the image is clear and the audio is perfect, and we invite you to check out our webcam. There's a 24-hour archive posted at WKOK.com, or you can look at our YouTube channel.
Is anybody here striking or on strike today or protesting for a $15 minimum wage?
I don't know. Why don't we wait till after we introduce our sponsors, and we'll ask
I thought you did
question.
that. Sorry.
The Sunbury Motor Company, we did do that.
We've talked a lot about them. That's what threw me for a loop.
Vehicle. Lenape Solar email in basket is open. You can email on the mark at WKOK.com, and in many cases, we do, in fact, read your email on the radio. Lenape is located at 140 South 2nd Street in Sunbury. You can find them on the web at lenapesolar.com. They invite you to make sure that the owners of your business, or if you are the owner, or if you are a stakeholder in a business, or a stockholder, or a stakeholder, either way, make sure you know about commercial lighting audits that guaranteed will save your business a buck on the overhead lighting. Old fluorescents out, in with the LEDs and brighter, more colorful lights that make people feel better. Well, that's a nice trick. And they'll make you feel better while you're at work. LenapeSolar.com is their main website. We have an email related to our previous topic. It says the origin of the NAST. What is a NAST? Does that relate to something?
Thomas Nast, the cartoonist.
I'm sorry. Origin of the word nasty. Joe's been insulted for years and didn't even notice, says Than. All right. 1-800-795-9565 is the open phones. We do have open phones today. We invite you to check in, and you can talk to us about the topic of your selection. Some very brief headlines. Do not mix alcohol and climbing out of a moving car. And that is what Samuel Long did last evening. He was climbing out of a moving car on Welliver Road near Turbotville. When he fell to the ground, he sustained critical injuries, and he is still at Geisinger recovering in intensive care. Police say no charges filed, but alcohol was involved. Teachers in the Line Mountain School District set a strike date after a union meeting Wednesday. Teachers have notified the superintendent they'll strike November 5th if no agreement is not reached by then. Or if no agreement is reached, I guess I would say. The agency which controls liquor and wine sales in Pennsylvania is doing a booming business. They've transferred a record $526 million to the state government's main bank account. A report issued Wednesday by the Pennsylvania LCB says the total for the year ending June 30th is $13 million, or 2.5% higher than the previous year. Most of the revenue comes from the state liquor and sales tax, but also includes profits of $80 million that was transferred early at Governor Tom Corbett's request while this year's state budget plan was being assembled. The board says its net income totaled $124 million, up from the previous year. And Malaysia Airlines has renamed a promotional campaign asking people what countries are on their bucket list to visit after acknowledging it was inappropriate given their two deadly disasters they suffered this year. A bucket list, in case you don't know, is a term used to describe a list of activities that people want to do or places they want to see before they die. You put the list of the things in the bucket, and at whatever occasion you pull out one of the items and do whatever's on that list or go to the place listed. The airline said in a Thursday adding Malaysia Airlines to a list of buckets sounded morose, since 239 people who may have had traveling on Malaysian Airlines on their bucket list kicked the bucket or disappeared after the plane apparently was shot down over the Ukraine. Malaysian Airlines lost a plane over the Ukraine, plus their jet disappeared March 8th as well.
It has never been found.
Right. So they say.
So they take you to where your bucket list wants you to go, and then they make sure you're in the bucket.
Right, that's the end of that. So do everything on the bucket list before you draw out the last one, which is to fly on Malaysian Airlines. All right, 1-800-795-9565. Roberta, thanks for waiting patiently through the headlines. You are on the mark.
Good morning. I'm not on the bucket list. Are you?
No, I'll have to meet you before I die. I certainly hope we can do that.
Yeah, someday maybe we will. Okay, and another thing with the Line Mountain school teachers, I hope they make an agreement by that deadline, because if they raise their taxes anymore, I'm moving out of the district.
Too expensive?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? $1,900, $2,000 for your property tax? Can you afford that? I'm on a fixed income.
Well, I think it depends on where you live. I just got a $2,000 tax bill, over $2,000 tax bill from the Selinsgrove School District. So,
Well, I guess they're about as high as Line Mountain, but I think, the teachers, I'm not saying they don't deserve what they get, because they, I guess, are underpaid, and we expect a lot more out of them than we get plenty out of them. But some people expect more. It doesn't matter how hard they try. And I think we do have pretty good teachers in our school district, as far as that goes, any school district in our area. But I'll tell you what, them teachers have to have a lot of patience with some students. You know that yourself, because I was no angel when I was in school either.
aren't you then kind of talking against your own purpose? You're saying the teachers deserve more money, but if you if they get it, it's going to raise your taxes, and then you can't afford to live there.
Well, you're right. But see, I don't know about you, but I can make my tax payments in 3 payments, so I couldn't afford to pay them at one time. $1,400 and some dollars at one clip. I don't even get that much in a month's, Social Security.
Yeah, I think they just started doing that a few years ago. I don't remember getting that a couple years back, but in the last 2 tax bills, I did see there was a coupon in there where you could pay 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3.
It's only the fall taxes, though. You can't do
you
school spring.
can't do it in the spring taxes. That's all. Well,
the spring taxes are municipal and county.
Yeah, mine were $400 and some dollars for the spring, but I mean, at the same time, don't they want property? If it wouldn't be for the property owners, where would they get all this money from?
Well, no place else. That's it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't expect to live here for nothing, because no place is free. Don't matter where you live. But I don't mind paying my share. But when it goes a little bit beyond your share, you know what I mean? It hurts.
Yep.
Hey. But I mean, like I said, I hope And then this other school district is at Millville. They're still on strike. That's not fair to the students. I don't care. The students don't deserve it. They should be able to go to school regardless. If they should hire other people in to take over for the teachers that are on strike. That's how I feel.
You want to bring in scabs?
Well, I don't know what they'll bring in, but I mean, it's better than the kids not even going to school. Not right either.
No, can't argue with you on that one.
Because they're going to be how long? Well, it's been a couple of weeks now that they've been off a strike, on strike. So I mean, them kids in the meantime, they're not learning anything.
Okay, you got a point.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you very much. 1-800-795-9565. We will take a quick break.
Oh, you never did get to make my point. When do I get to make my point?
Hurry up.
No, I'll wait till after the break.
Oh, I see.
We were going to talk about, I think some of what she said ties in. She's worried about the teachers. She considers the fact that they deserve more money, but that if they get it and her taxes go up, she can't afford to live there. I think the same thing is to some extent true, and I think we should discuss it at least with respect to this minimum wage argument about $15 an hour. If a fast food worker gets $15 an hour, what does the manager of the fast food store get? What does his boss get? Do they all go up? And in the end, who's going to pay for the increase in costs? We are as consumers. Now, if we're willing to do that, fine. But a lot of what we've done in this country is we say, well, we need better wages, we need living wages, and so we pay them to the person. The cost of their good or service they produce goes up, and so we buy foreign products in big box stores and could defeat the whole purpose. Don't you think?
I'll answer that question when we
right.
return. All right, we are going to take a quick break. Kevin's going to come in here and pound he's either going to pound me or the computer has a hammer in his hand. I'm not sure which is going to happen.
It's all your fault.
I think so, too. All righty, but we'll take a quick break. But we are going to take a quick break. We have open phones right now. You heard what Joe has suggested. Are you supporting big box stores if you raise the minimum wage? 1-800-795-9565 is our telephone number. We invite folks to call in. 1-800-795-9565, our telephone number. Lenape Solar email in basket is open on the market at WKOK.com, the address. And our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Today is the day you switch to Rite Aid for one simple reason. Wellness Plus, the card that gives you credits you can use like cash. Plus, discounts that only members get. Plus, 20% off almost the entire store. Plus, that's for a whole year. Plus, rewards that start today and pile on every time you shop. So, if you're tired of missing out on all the pluses only Rite Aid delivers, visit RiteAidWellness.com to sign up and learn more today about Wellness Plus. Rite Aid. With us, it's personal.
Hi, I'm Bruce Fabrizio, inventor of Simple Green, the iconic cleaning formula known around the globe. Since being introduced to households and businesses over 35 years ago, the family of Simple Green products has grown. But one thing all of them share is my full commitment to their excellence. Simple Green. Try a Simple Green product today, and if you're not 100% satisfied, I'll refund your money. Visit us at simplegreen.com.
Simple Green. Simple Green. Hearing this in your future? Head to the Outdoor Bridal Show Sunday, September 7th on the Watson Inn premises. See vendors for every need. Bridal registration begins at 1, vendor door prize giveaways are at 3, and the grand prize is $1,000 cash. Sponsored by the Lewisburg Hotel, Watson Inn, and Mifflinburg Hotel. Thanks to partnering sponsors, Any Event Party Rental and Sales Williamsport, Tron Wedding and Party Rentals Kingston, and Wolf Sanitation Sunbury. Call the Watson Inn at 538-1832 or the Lewisburg Hotel at 523-7800.
When you have to get to the root of a dental problem, see Vadunas Family Dentistry in Mifflinburg. In a relaxing atmosphere, Dr. Paul Vadunas offers a full spectrum of dental care, from checkups to reconstruction, including extractions and root canals. This could save you a trip to a specialist. And if you're afraid of dental care, ask about anxiety-free dentistry. Dr. Paul Vadunas, Market Street, Mifflinburg. VadunasDentistry.com. Call 570-966-1511 and
smile.
And welcome back to On the Mark. I thought I'd save you the trouble.
You did a nice job. All right, 1-800-795-9565. 1-800-795-9565. We're talking about the minimum wage. The question asked by Joe is that it's just not fair.
No,
what I'm saying, you're being morbidly underpaid by the man.
Oh, stop it.
And everybody else gets a chance to
morbidly
finally
underpaid.
get paid closer to what they're worth, a living wage, a family-sustaining wage. People who previously had to scratch and claw to get a family-sustaining wage are going to feel bad.
Well, look at it this way. If I'm making $15 an hour now, it's because I've done something that justifies more than the minimum wage. I've developed additional skills. I've had additional training, whatever it may be. I'm not making the minimum wage. I'm making $15 an hour. Now, all of a sudden, a whole bunch of people whose skill set is somewhat less than mine, who are working at entry-level positions, they're now getting $15 an hour. So what's my reaction? Gee, I'm glad for them? Or is it, hey, well, if they're getting $15 an hour, I should be getting $25 an hour?
Well, why don't you fight for that then?
Well, yeah, but where does it stop? It's okay. If you want to do that, it's okay, but then be willing to pay the increase in prices because you're going to get them. This is going to be passed on to the consumer the same way it's passed on every other time. Well, talk about a gas tax to build highways. Oh, it'll be passed on to the consumer. Well, of course it will in the end. Who else will pay for it?
Well, and I think this is, we've had whole programs, program after program. What is the real cost? If we are enjoying a fast food burger where the worker gets $7 an hour, who pays the real cost? Well, you think, well, my burger only cost $1.
So much for the dollar menu.
Right. So my burger only cost $1. Well, who paid the real cost? Well, the real cost is borne by a worker who's not paid a life-sustaining wage, a minimum wage.
Does every worker have the right to a life-sustaining wage?
Well, I have a question.
What about their skill set?
Yes.
All right, what about their skills?
Thank you for asking it
What about
succinctly.
what they bring to the table? Isn't that important too? In other words, if I have a good skill set and I market that skill set to you, you say, well, Joe, you have exactly the skill set I need. I'm going to pay you $20 an hour for that. Are you going to pay another guy who comes in with a third or two-thirds less skill set than I am the same money because he deserves a sustaining wage, a life-sustaining wage, as you put it?
So you're saying that people who mean more to a company should be paid more?
Yes.
Well, then why don't...
What a bizarre concept.
Well, then do it. There's nothing to stop a company from doing that. If they think Joe brings tremendous...
But it's all proportionate.
To what?
To the economy as a whole. You can't just do one thing
so
without a ripple.
To not
I'm not saying it's
squeeze
necessarily inflationary. I think it is, but some people argue that actually you do better when you increase the salaries of people. I think to a certain extent you do, but I think it has to be related to what you bring to the table. In other words, how would you feel, let's say you're making $50,000 a year as a newsman here at this radio station, and they bring in somebody who's not nearly as capable as you are, pay them the same amount of money for, emptying the ashtrays, if you will. Now, wouldn't you feel like you had been demeaned? Come on, be honest. Wouldn't you feel like you had been demeaned?
I would think that I had been overqualified for a work, that the salary is for a particular position.
So what would you do? Would you go back then and say, well, I've been the news person here making $50,000 a year, but now the fellow who empties the ashtrays makes that. I'd like to just empty the ashtrays and get the same $50,000.
That's what Kevin
I'm right
Kevin
there.
was just writing that down.
Actually, my question is, Mark, you used the term...
Says the man who drives a free $40,000 truck.
Right.
Anyway.
You for a week, all right. You said living wage. All right. Now, I realize there are some people that are actually family people that have a family and trying to support a family or supplement their family income with this. Let me ask you a question. What about two people that have the same skill set? You want to pay one because a living wage because they're trying to support their family. The other is a 16-year-old high school student who has the same skill set. Do they still deserve that $15 an hour? Or are you going to separate them because one is trying to have a family or support their family, and the other one is just trying to get money so they can spend it?
Well, I think you're sort of uncovering the intricacies involved in paying people at every workplace, whether they're in the minimum wage or 20 times the minimum wage. And different people come to the workplace for different reasons. Some come for personal income so that they can support their family. Some come because they like work. I come to work here in the hope that maybe we can sort of raise up the whole tide of the valley and to kind of do good here and be there when people need us. Yes, of course, when the paychecks come, I certainly am eager to make sure direct deposit is working effectively, but making the money's not why I'm here. Joe's not here for the wage. So what you're doing is you're opening the book. Why did you come to this place to work in the first place? And then you're trying to layer on top of that, okay, your personal worth as an employee of this company is X. And they don't match up. They're not the same thing. You can't say somebody's personal worth is worth X, but only worth Y because of some circumstance in their personal life. So what you have to do is raise the minimum wage to the point that people are making a reasonable wage that values their worth. And then if people are worth more of that and bring more value, pay them more.
All right, but so what happens at the bottom? The people who are making $10 an hour are now making $15. What happens as a result of that? The world just becomes a better place. The sun shines brighter. The birds sing more merrily.
Well, first of all, what
happens? I'm going to go. What's the bottom line of doing that?
Probably have to provide an increase in wage to those who were already making $15 an hour.
Oh, okay. So now that's what I said to you earlier. What happens to you if the guy emptying the ashtrays makes the same amount of money you do?
I don't think
you feel devalued. Whether you admit it or not, you would feel devalued, and justifiably so.
No, you're taking the negative. The positive is how I look at it. I look at the positive that finally even more of my value is being recognized.
I look at it this way. I always remember, you learn from a manager's standpoint how to do things because of good examples you've seen in the past or bad examples. And I have a lady that I work for owned a radio station in Chambersburg.
Says the man who's doled out nickel raises to people.
Well, hey, if that's what I had to give, that's what I gave. But I mean, I went in, and when I found out my wife and I were going to have a child, I went in and asked for a raise, and she looked at me and said, "We didn't tell you to have a baby."
Right, and your value to us is the same. Your motivation has changed for working.
So I mean, and that was a real wake-up call for me. I thought, I'm only going to get further in this life if I develop more skills, more marketable skills, more talent, more ability, more training, whatever it is, to get further ahead. And so I didn't say they owed me more for just being me. I said I need to do more to get a better job.
Valuing people for their true worth is going to kill you. I can just tell you're going to hate
No,
this.
well, their true worth, I mean, that's exactly what we do. We value you for your true worth and what you bring to the company.
I don't think we do. I think
what
we
you
say
bring to the company.
You come in the door, maybe in this company, but not at fast food restaurants where the protests are underway, which excludes fast food restaurants locally, I'll add, because there aren't any around here.
I'll tell you, the inflation rate in Marktopia is going to be pretty darn high.
Oh, yes. When people are finally paid what they're worth and are given
what they're worth, define what they're worth. Doesn't their skill set define what they're worth?
All right.
Doesn't it? Now, come on, answer me. That's a yes or no question.
Yes, absolutely yes.
Okay.
Caitlin, third smartest woman in the world, says, Joe, corporations like McDonald's and Walmart don't have to pass on extra labor costs to consumers. There's another option. Take it out of profits. McDonald's made over $6 billion in the first quarter of 2014. Or better yet, don't eat at McDonald's if you don't want to pay more for a burger made by people who can't afford to live on what they are paid.
If you're willing to pay the price, Caitlin, if you're willing to pay the price for that hamburger for, $20, if that winds up being the cost of a hamburger, fine. Then we will do that. But we can't have it up both ways. We can't say we want people to make wonderful amounts of money, but we don't want to pay the increased costs that are going to come from it. If we're willing to pay those costs, fine, then do it. But typically what we do in this country, we've driven a lot of American jobs overseas because we have demanded cheaper goods, but we want higher salaries. So what happens? I may have to pay you a higher salary, but then I outsource the work overseas where I pay less money, and eventually you lose your job.
Well, we've advocated on this show that we somehow change to an economy where we pay the real cost. That if we're going to ship food or ship products from overseas, the real cost is that other countries don't have the same standards as we do in terms of labor and or environmental regulations. So therefore, the real cost is borne by people and the planet. But yes, we do get the cheaper good. Would it be better for us, and the answer is yes, to pay the real cost of goods and services? Let's get more people involved in this. 1-800-795-9565. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, I'd love to get people's views on this. People come to their jobs with different motivations. Why are they there? That varies. When they arrive, they're paid differently. Some paid more and bring more value and paid more. But should we raise the minimum wage so that it at least recognizes some humanity in people that are earning the minimum wage? And $15 an hour seems high, but that seems to be the topic of our conversation. Okay, 1-800-795-9565. Should we raise the minimum wage or not? Give us a call, 1-800-795-9565. Our email in basket is sponsored by Lenape Solar. It is on the mark at WKOK.com, and we will be right back.
For a lawn worthy of the spotlight, you need a mower worthy of the same. Try Kubota's Commander Z100 Series zero-turn mowers. These high-output, gas-powered machines are cutting-edge and commercial-grade. Demanding attention with brilliant LED headlights, 5-inch deep mower decks, and commercial Hydra gear transmissions, Kubota puts professional results at your fingertips. Get exceptional savings on all Kubota Commanders during the Gear Up and Go sales event with 0 down and 0% APR financing for up to 48 months. Command the spotlight during the Gear Up and Go sales event right now at your local Kubota.com. 0 down, 0% APR financing for terms up to 48 months on Z100 Commander models now through 12/31/14. Financing is available through Kubota Credit Corporation, USA, subject to credit approval. Other conditions may apply. Offer expires 12/31/14. For more information, call toll-free 1-888-465-8268.
Get the speed, power, and bandwidth you need to connect all your devices with wideband 100 high-speed internet from Service Electric Cablevision. Perfect for your family or home office. You'll be blown away as you simultaneously stream shows and movies, download music, play online games. The possibilities are limitless. And for the biggest savings, bundle wideband 100 with TV or phone service. Visit SECV.com today for unrivaled speed and savings. Service not available in all areas. Visit SECV.com for more details. Watch SECV8 exclusively on Service Electric Cablevision Channel 8. Get the latest local news, sports, weather, and community events, plus coverage of high school sports, including the Friday night football game of the week, so you never miss a minute of the action. Like SECV8 on Facebook through October 31st and enter to win an iPad or a Visa gift card. Visit SECV.com/SECV8 sweeps for official rules. SECV8, the region's leader in local news and sports.
Hi, I'm Megan from Selinsgrove, and even though I'm 10, I know the number one cause of car crashes in the U.S. is distracted driving. Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation and Selinsgrove Ford want you to eliminate the distractions in your vehicle. Secure your passengers and equipment, turn down the music, and turn off the cell phone. This message brought to you by the stations of Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation, including Newsradio 1070, WKOK, and Selinsgrove Ford, proud supporters of Susquehanna Smart Drive.
It's opening night in the NFL, and the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese, joining Steve Jones after 3 today on The Steve Jones Show, News Radio 1070 WKOK.
I'm supposed to get a raise next week, you know damn well I won't. Working for a living, black. Working for a living. Working for a living, living and working.
Welcome back to WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark. I am Mark Lawrence, strikingly handsome host of the show with a new beard. You have to go back a little bit earlier in the webcam to see it. It's a soul patch with a leprechaun line.
Splendid.
Thank you. Across from me is Baldy, and Kevin Herr is the greatest engineer the world has ever known. Chris, thank you so much for calling in, or Oh Great Bearded One, as we will call you. Good morning.
Good morning. Let me see if I have this straight about Joe here.
Nothing straight about him.
Somebody writes a letter to a school board, apparently, complaining that their names for their team is insulting. The people in charge look at the situation and decide, yes, it would be a good idea to change it. And Joe gets upset because he thinks people are too thin-skinned.
That's correct. Okay, so far so
that's
good.
an oversimplification, but I can't disagree with what you said entirely.
Strikingly accurate
So
in my
who's
view.
thin-skinned? That's the point.
What?
Who's thin-skinned?
Well, in this case,
Why would you get upset about such a thing?
I get upset about it because of the tradition. You have a tradition that had been in place in that school.
isn't your
No, you asked me.
tradition
You
that
asked
somebody
me a
changed
question. Let me
voluntarily?
answer it.
That's
You
the
asked me a
point.
question. Let me answer it. I think it's been in that high school's tradition for over 100 years, or almost 100 years. It's been a part of what they do. They have done it, I think, with respect, not reverence, but respect. They have chosen in their own way to try to honor this group. And belly dancing was part of it. So now that's where we are.
The mascot is a caricature with a huge
All
nose.
mascots are caricatures, are they
that's
not?
Fine, but it's hard to say how that depiction honors Arabs. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, you should be upset. You're upset at the people who changed it then, not the people who complained.
Right. The people who complain have every right to complain.
Yeah, caving to
And
sensitivity
the people
and
who are in
caring.
charge of this cherished tradition decided to change it, and you're upset.
With one
because they
complaint,
did.
Chris, with one complaint. If there had been a general uprising, if it had been in the works for years, maybe maybe I could say, all right, well, apparently they really have offended people. But this is one group that's determined.
But obviously they thought about it, right?
I don't know what level of thought they gave to it.
Why would that upset you?
It upsets me because we have things that are part of tradition. It's like I was kidding about the Irish Fighting Irish logo. I think it's cute, and I don't think it's demeaning to Irish. It's just plain on a caricature that's been around for a long time.
Well, yeah, but do you know the history of that?
Well, yeah, we had it explained to us earlier in the program.
Okay.
Thomas Nast of the cartoons.
No. I don't think they mentioned the fighting leprechaun in there, or the football team adopting it, or the idea of fighting Irish. Did they?
Well, the Fighting Irish part, yes, she did. She covered that, and she talked about Thomas Nast's cartoons, which are true. Nast was hired to portray the Irish and others in a political light that was unfavorable to them.
Yeah, but I think the degradation of the Irish as the fighting started before that, and it was also anti-Catholic, and it was Catholics who chose the symbol. And that's another big point you seem to be missing. It was Catholics who chose the symbol because of that.
And it's many times in rap music and other places, it's black people who use a word that they consider very offensive if we use it. So there's no accounting for it. What I'm saying is it's not predictably offensive. Maybe that's the best way to put it. It had been in place for a long time.
The people in charge of it decided to change it. I don't understand that they weren't forced to by anybody. I don't see why you'd be upset. They thought about it.
They
were the minority school district now of Hispanics or something. I don't know. Maybe it was to start with. I don't have no idea, but maybe they just looked at the situation in their own light and decided to change it once it was pointed out. I don't.
If they had decided to change it without it being pointed out, that they just felt that, after 100 years we need a change in mascots, I'd have no problem with it. But I just don't like the idea of one group coming along and saying, we think you should change this. Oh, okay, let's change it.
Okay. Now, about the minimum wage, real quick. Are you against all minimum wage?
No, I'm not against a minimum wage.
So what are we arguing about then?
What we're arguing about.
Your example.
What we're arguing about is that
if we change it, it's going to raise everybody's costs. Blah 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 blah.
I didn't say that.
Up to $20 a hamburger. Oh, how terrible!
If you listen to me, you might hear actually what I said. I said if you're willing to pay the price, if there is a consequence to raising that rate, fine, go ahead and raise it. But then don't complain about the high cost of goods if they do go up.
Raise it and find out if it does that, and then we can decide whether we can complain or not, or who's responsible.
Well, Caitlin,
but why is that an argument against it?
I didn't say it was an argument against it.
I'm
just saying I think
we're arguing against raising the minimum wage.
I'm
Maybe
arguing.
I didn't hear you correctly.
I'm arguing that if you're willing to raise that, if you're willing to pay people who don't bring more skill sets, don't bring more education, don't bring more training to the job, if you're willing to just give them a raise for the sake of giving them a raise, then don't be surprised that the people who are currently making that salary want more.
One of our listeners sends us a note, says, I'm very supportive of the fast food workers. $15 an hour is proposed, but I bet that compromise can be reached to ensure that workers at fast food restaurants can raise a family and house themselves and get health insurance. Minimum wage has raised before. Good business people learn to deal with it. Losers griped about it.
But see, again, we're talking about raising minimum wage, and then we refer to it in the standpoint of raising a family and health insurance. And what about, especially in the fast food industry, when there are quite a few, now I don't have the numbers, so don't go fact-checking me, but quite a few are living at home and are 16. Do you still include them in the raise? That's what I'm asking.
Maybe you could have a graduated minimum wage.
Well, why is that okay?
That
if this person is 16 years old, has the same skill set as, say, a 30-year-old raising a family, why should there be two separate wages then?
Well, here's another aspect of that, and I will touch on this. I am a habitué of fast food restaurants. There's one I go to in the area.
You're a what?
Habitué. I visit them from time to time. Sorry to use a word with which you're unfamiliar.
Yeah, I think that's a made-up word.
No, it's not.
How do you spell it?
Can I make my point before I start spelling words for you?
Yeah.
I have gone into this restaurant many times, and I have seen the people wandering around. They're in no hurry to take care of the customers. They get involved in one thing, and they just follow it through. You stand there for 15 minutes. Finally, someone says, "Are you waited on yet?" What skill set do they bring? In other words, we're going to give them more money for subpar performance now. If they, on the other hand, and I've gone in the same restaurant where I've seen people who are really on the ball, really, very into customer service. The minute you come through the door, hi, how may I help you? They're pleasant, they're courteous. Those are the people that I think eventually are going to work their way up the scale to that $15 or $20 an hour. But because of what they bring to the job, not because they just are there.
Tony, you're on the mark.
As concerns the Fighting Irish, that name started with was our father, Francis Corby, who was the chaplain of the 69th New York Regiment. He became the president of Notre Dame. They started calling him Notre Dame the Fighting Irish because he was the chaplain of that regiment. And it just stuck. The original name and his nickname in Notre Dame were the Ramblers.
The Ramblers?
Not many people know that.
No, I didn't know that. Why was that? Do you remember, Tony?
No, I have no idea.
Okay.
No idea why they were called the Ramblers. But I do know that's why they started calling them the Fighting Irish after Father Corby.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing.
I'd throw that in there.
Yeah,
glad you did.
Thank you very much. All right, let's
learn something new every day here.
Let's look at the emails. It says first one. This is a biggie, and it is not signed. It says Ben and Jerry's tried to implement a reasonable system of pay as they grew the ratio of pay from the top paid employee to the lowest paid employee was changed. But the origin of the program was to create a fair pay system. At the start of the company, there was a 5-to-1 ratio. Later changed, something companies may want to pursue today. But it's neither Cherry Garcia nor Fish Food, as in Phish, food, that's on my mind right now. Well, maybe just a little, but as much as the I guess we're in a quote here, end of an era. So the bar was raised 7-1 to attract new talent. Ultimately 17-1 over the course of a half dozen years. The company was acquired by... All right, well,
but they're talking about, by the way, ice cream flavors.
Well, the point Caitlin made a while ago is not a bad one. If a company makes a huge profit, I believe they have an obligation to share that with the employees. Because the employees do contribute to
What?
I do. I believe.
But you want them to earn $7 an hour, or maybe less if you can get away with it. But you want profit sharing is okay.
Yes, it certainly is, because it gives everybody the incentive to work for improvement.
Why not add it to the minimum wage?
Because you're doing it for nothing. If my work helps the company grow and prosper, then I definitely deserve a share of that. I get upset just as upset when I read that company CEOs are making 75 times what the average employee is making, or the companies have $6 billion in profits and they're paying minimum wage to people. Yeah, that bothers me, because I think there you are talking about devaluing the employees. No matter how good you are, if you don't, as a company, no matter how much you're filling a need that needs to be filled, if you don't have good people working for you, you're not going to do as good a job as you can. And if you make a profit, then I think you've got to share that profit with the people who work for you.
All right, read that letter.
It says, when you look at the profits the corporations like McDonald's, Walmart, Burger King, etc. are making, the excessive bonuses, salaries that their CEOs receive, we should be outraged by the fact that they are paying minimum wage salaries that makes it impossible for them to live without government support. Why should taxpayers subsidize the employees of a wealthy corporation? The workers of these corporations contribute to the corporation's wealth. That is worth something. McDonald's couldn't make the money it does without its workers. Well, this is just what I said, and I agree with this person. That's worth something. Okay. You forget that the real driving force of the economy is the working class who spends money, not the rich who hide their money in investment banks overseas.
Now, she is a free-thinking progressive, and you agree with her.
I agree with her to the extent that I think it's unconscionable to make huge amounts. We probably are going to disagree on what's a fair profit. She's liable to think if they make more than $5 profit that they should be splitting it. I'm saying that you have to be
millions.
You have to be concerned with the shareholders too, but you do have an obligation to the employees who helped you get to that point. What's fair becomes the question.
One of our listeners wants to know if you're going to go to the next meeting of the Susquehanna Valley Progressives.
No.
Not conservative. Well, you're thinking like them. You're thinking that way. Joe, you're on the mark. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, I noticed you guys when you had lumped everybody together as far as corporations, you mentioned Walmart, McDonald's, and Burger King. The problem is McDonald's and Burger King are ran by franchise owners, not the corporation. The franchise owners have to pay a certain percentage or a flat rate to the corporation every quarter, every half, or every 6 months or every year. Get how it works. So it's up to the franchise owners whether or not we get a bump in our minimum wage, not the corporation.
I got you. Okay, so it's done at the street level, not necessarily the corporations. So keep the corporations out of it for those franchisers.
Well, yeah, and some of that...
At least for McDonald's and Burger King. Now, Walmart, it's corporation.
Right,
well,
gotcha.
Some
All right, thank you, Joe. Good
some
point.
of them weren't doing very well. Down in Harrisburg, McDonald's forced a franchisee out of several businesses because apparently he was bringing in foreign exchange students and paying them next to nothing and putting them up in bad housing and utilizing their skills but not giving them a fair return on their investment of their time and their abilities.
All right. Brett, thank you for calling in. You're on the mark.
Yeah, this is for Joe. I've been in business a long time, and I used to give bonuses when we made a good profit. But, the guys get going, and then they get comfortable, and they get married, and then later they aren't making your profit. They're losing your money. What am I supposed to... Then they ask me, well, where's the bonus?
I'd say, where's the profit?
We didn't make any money.
Right, where's the profit?
Now, okay, when the profit was there, we'd give bonuses.
Right.
Now the profit's gone and we're losing money. What do? Say, can I have some more money? And some people aren't worth the minimum wage. I mean, they go to work to see how much work they can get out of.
And Brett, what is the specific business that you're in?
Well, it's a home improvement business and construction and
okay, perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
So.
That's perfect because that means that as your workers worked, they learned more and got faster. Carpenters get faster. House painters get faster and even more careful as they go faster. So
they learn a life skill.
Right.
You're making my
They don't
argument
have to
now,
work
Mark.
for me.
You're making my argument that it's what they bring to the table that determines what they should get paid.
And so some of them want minimum wage. I say some of them aren't even worth minimum wage.
I don't have any
They go to
problem
work
with
to
it.
see how much work they can get out of.
The issue-
I've seen them hide around the corner and they steal stuff from you, and they end up costing you money. What are you going to do? Say, well, now at the end of the week you owe me $50.
But what we're talking about
Let me know how that works for you.
But really,
exactly.
that's how you run your business, and that's important that you keep track of that. And you're better off to be a one-man band, as maybe you're finding out the hard way. But
yeah, I did. I've been there, done that. Got
Okay.
boxes full of T-shirts and sweatshirts to prove it.
But the fact is that we're talking, though, this conversation is really about what is almost a subhuman minimum wage, that whomever earns it full-time and tries to make a living doing that can't earn enough money. Even if they work full-time, they can't make enough to live. That in many cases, they have to rely on government subsidies. So you and I, sir, even though you don't buy the cheeseburger, or maybe you do, but you don't buy enough of them to subsidize this.
No.
You and I are paying for that minimum wage and for that franchisor to keep the wages low. We're paying anyway. We're paying the real cost. The taxpayer's paying it because we graciously fund various
If they can't
programs.
stay in business and make a profit, they probably shouldn't be in business.
Well, I think
Like
they
these
can.
It's like the insurance companies. They get bailed out. I mean, it's an insurance company. If you can only pay 40% or 75% of the loss and you're out of business, you're out of business. You were looking for a job when you got this one.
All right, we got you.
Well,
Hey,
look for another one.
happy work down there, and keep at least use your 3-point plan on the ladder always at all times. Have at least 2 feet.
I'm roping and hanging sashes today, and I don't know if I should say that. Somebody might get upset.
Oh, be careful. Be careful. Thank you very
All
much.
right, bye.
All right.
But
so-
he's right on target.
Well, he's
right on
liberal
target.
too, so watch out.
Okay.
All right, one of our listeners, ultra liberal Than. I'm sorry, I
How many
skipped
letters
that
are we going to
tag.
get from Than today?
Well, he's listening. He's
All
got his
right.
keyboard handy. You buy these people an iPad, this is what you're going to get.
I know. Well, let's take it from him.
It says Domino's Pizza guessed the price of a large pizza would increase 12 cents if they paid employees a fair wage. Margaret and I would be glad to pay 12 cents extra to raise the wage.
Well, how
I
many
agree.
pizzas are you going to buy?
Well,
You're going to buy one a day?
Probably one a month would be people that would order
So
out. for
buying
pizza.
one pizza a month is going to, at 12 cents more, is going to solve their problem?
Well, Domino's Pizza sells 1.7 million pizzas a month.
Do they? Are you know that for a fact?
No, I made that up.
That's another franchise.
Yeah, it is a franchise.
Right.
All right, what about Rob? Did we read Rob's there?
Not yet.
Okay.
We read them in the order in which they rove. So
Okay.
if he's at the top, he's new. It says if the minimum wage is raised, it will push some of those 16-year-olds out of the job force and get some more adults back into the workforce. You will end up with a more stable workforce and less turnover every time students go off to college.
So let's say we do it. Let's
Says
say we
Robert.
do
Thank you.
that. We raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, and 2 years down the road, the inflation has caught up with it. Do we raise it another 15? Isn't it a dog chasing its tail? You raise the minimum wage, there's a period of time, prices go up, you raise the prices, you have to raise the prices to cover your costs.
So you're saying we're starving people on this low minimum wage in order to prevent inflation?
I don't think you can drag the bottom of the ladder up through the middle without there being repercussions. That's what I'm saying. Are you willing to accept those repercussions?
Yes, absolutely. We
You
would have
are,
to
okay.
pay slightly more. We'd have to help pay the real cost of that which... Oh, I got to take a break. As soon as Cindy's done, Cindy, we're going to take a break. But go ahead. You're on the mark.
Let me just be very quick. When you raise someone's salary, the cost to the business is not just the 12 cents I think was characterized before. It is the cost to that business is also an increase in the payment to Social Security, right? An increase in the payment to Medicare, an increase in the payment to the Workmen's Compensation Fund. So I think we have to be honest. If you're talking... we need somebody to do a real hard calculation. If you give somebody $1 an hour raise, it is not a simple $1 an hour cost to the business. It's far higher than that. So what's the real cost to the business, and then can that business absorb it? It's easy to say that a rich corporation can do that, but you don't raise the minimum wage just to a rich corporation. You raise it across the board.
to everybody.
That's what worries me.
All right, we got you. Good point. One of our listeners sends us a note, says, take away the high school workers and you pull a lot of disposable income out of the economy. Well, that's true. Kids spend their money. They don't save it in many cases. We got to take a break.
I just got to make this point. Then we'll
Hurry
take I guess we can't. My feeling is that you look at what a job is worth. And the National Association of Broadcasters years ago used to survey radio stations, and they would say, please tell us what you pay for each of these positions. Don't want to know the names, just what do you pay for the position. So a copywriter gets X. And they would put out ranges saying that, based on the revenue size of the station, these are the ranges of salaries that you probably would expect to make in the business. I found that very helpful because that way I didn't overpay or underpay. I paid for what the skill set was worth as determined by the rest of the industry.
Regardless of the person's actual skills.
Their actual skills when they came here then determine how well they did going forward.
All right.
But as a base salary, that's what we used as a determining factor.
I'm going to give you a nickel a week raise.
Thank you.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, got to go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
This is Tanya Diddy. If you've been wondering how you can save money and the environment for the future, then all you have to do is look to the sun. Let Lenape Solar enlighten you. Lenape Solar installs residential and commercial solar systems, each custom designed to meet your individual needs. And we're committed to buy American products. Making an investment in a solar system today is much more affordable than it was 2 to 3 years ago. And the payback is much quicker. You can trust the experts at Lenape Solar to help enlighten you to a brighter tomorrow, because we're committed to you and to our community. Call us at 286-1496 and start saving today.
Today is the day you switch to Rite Aid for one simple reason. Wellness Plus, the card that gives you credits you can use like cash. Plus, discounts that only members get. Plus, 20% off almost the entire store. Plus, that's for a whole year. Plus, rewards that start today and pile on every time you shop. So, if you're tired of missing out on all the pluses only Rite Aid delivers, visit RiteAidWellness.com to sign up and learn more today about Wellness Plus. Rite Aid. With us, it's personal.
Hi, I'm Bruce Fabrizio, inventor of Simple Green, the iconic cleaning formula known around the globe. Since being introduced to households and businesses over 35 years ago, the family of Simple Green products has grown. But one thing all of them share is my full commitment to their excellence. Simple Green. Try a Simple Green product today, and if you're not 100% satisfied, I'll refund your money. Visit us at simplegreen.com.
Simple Green, Simple Green. Take this job and shove it. I ain't working
here no more. Yeah.
All right.
Well, we're out of time. Well, we hit that break right on the nose.
All right, one of our listeners says, hooray, hooray, Joe is now a socialist.
Not a socialist. I just believe in equity.
All of the sudden. Another person says minimum wage. Not everybody has the ability, the opportunity to improve their lot in life, but they do deserve a living wage. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Kevin. Sunbury Motor, Lenape Solar. This is WKOK Sunbury.